Good to see you. You're all very welcome. If you're first time to DCU, you are very welcome. If you're here before, welcome back to DCU. My name is Jonny Cooper. Two of my colleagues are standing by, going to come on in a couple of minutes. And what we're going to try to do for you this morning, I hope you enjoyed the introductory video. What we're going to try to do for you this morning is give you a little bit of insight into some of our experiences, some of our backgrounds. And I guess the title of today is If You Could See Me Now. So in 5 years' time, wherever you may be, whether that's in college, in a university somewhere, whether it's a PLC, whether it's traveling the world, wherever you happen to be, if you and can you look back on today and give you a little bit of insight to help you get to where you want to get to. And I guess that's the theme of today, so you're all very, very welcome. What we're going to do for you over the next 45 minutes is we're going to have a couple of small presentations. I'll start off, and then two of my colleagues are going to come in behind me. Fiona Hudson and Ross Mullen are going to come in behind me, and they're going to give you a sense, hopefully, of some of their experience. And as I said, it's hopefully to add some value to yourselves here. So relax. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sit back, hopefully learn something, and do a bit of listening. There's nothing else to it. Okay, so hopefully enjoy the next couple of minutes. So over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about my experience of being unrivaled. And to be unrivaled is to be out there on your own, is to have no competitors, to be out there somewhere leading the way. And sometimes that's a bit scary, sometimes you are alone, and sometimes that is a little bit risky, okay? But it's a really nice and it's a really cool space to be, and it's a good space to aim for. So over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you about my experience, about how I, in a different context, tried to be unrivaled. If I work hard enough, if I apply myself, if I have the right attitude, I get the potential opportunity to play in a stadium that's not too far away from here that has over 80,000 people in it on a particular day with millions of people potentially watching around the world. So a high-pressure environment. However, to get to a stage like that, you obviously have to do a lot of different things day to day. You have to have a good number of habits. You have to prepare right, and so on and so on. Okay, so how do you, whatever your context is, whatever your interest is, how do you get to where you want to get to? If this, for me, is what the end game looks like, playing a game in Croke Park, how do you build and make yourself get into where you want to get to, and whatever your interest and whatever your context happens to be? So I'm a 320-point Leaving Cert student, and the reason why I got 320 points in my Leaving Cert is because I didn't apply myself. It wasn't because I wasn't great at school, it wasn't because things didn't come natural to me, even though I told everyone that. It's just because I didn't apply myself, and I got 300 odd points, and I got what I deserved, essentially. I wanted to, although I did come here to study in the end, I didn't get what I wanted in the first place after my Leaving Cert. And I always thought when you went to an exam or went to a sporting occasion, went to a training, went to many different things that I engaged with, I always thought you were just able to flick on the light switch. Okay, but my experience certainly earlier on was the case in terms of getting what I deserved. I didn't really get, I guess, what I'd hoped for because I showed up on the day without the preparation and without the discipline that's needed to get to where I wanted to get to. So that's where I started from a number of years ago, okay, thinking I could just show up on the day and have that little bit of, I guess, arrogance to me that wasn't necessarily the best thing to have. And over the last couple of years, through personal challenges, through sporting challenges, through professional challenges, through many other things that I've engaged with, I've gone up and down like a snakes and ladders board. I've gone up and down the platform or the roadmap that I'm on. Sometimes on that road, you get a good bit of sunshine. Today is such a fantastic opportunity for me to speak in front of yourselves, and this is a really bright day for me to get this opportunity. So today was a bit of sunshine for me. Sometimes it's that little bit more shade where you go into school, you maybe don't get what you want in an exam, maybe you're not having a good day, maybe there's something else going on at home. It looks a little bit darker in terms of the shade in comparison to the sunshine that you sometimes get. Sometimes you know what's ahead of you. So in a couple of years, you'll have a Leaving Cert exam, and you know what's ahead of you, and you just have to get up that road, and you just have to keep on going. You know what's there, but it's just that long walkway ahead of you. Sometimes you do know what's ahead of you, but there's a bend coming. You might necessarily know what that bend is when you arrive to your exam. You might necessarily know what's on that particular exam, but you have to face up to that when that comes around for you. So you know what's there, but sometimes it's that bit of resiliency that's needed to get around and navigate your way through it. Sometimes, and we should all take an opportunity today or tomorrow to reflect on where we are. Sometimes you have that opportunity to stop. Say you're in DCU, you're going to enjoy your day today, and you're going to take whatever you can out of it. And just stop and reflect on what you have around you, but also what you have in terms of opportunities. Sometimes you know what's ahead of you, but the incline or the gradient's just a good bit higher, okay? And the challenge gets a little bit tougher, and the oxygen as you go up the mountain gets a little bit lower in terms of what you can benefit from. And then hopefully at the end of the day, you get the opportunity to look back on everything. The good days, the bad days, the roads that weren't so steep, the roads that are a little bit steeper, the reflection moments and so on, and you look back with a great, I guess, admiration of what you've done to get you to this point and what will come. As a high-performing athlete and somebody that has to play in a stadium like Croke Park, you always have to think like there's something missing. So whether you're number one or whether you want to be number one, you always have to think like you're number two. So there's always more, and that's why there's a little blank piece on the picture. There's always more that you can do. Okay, so whether that's in sports, whether that's in your music, in your dance, in your school, at home, relationships, and so on, there's always more that you can do. So I'm 29 now. I spent about 4 or 5 years trying to get onto a Dublin team and playing inside in Croke Park and get that wonderful opportunity that, as I said, if I work hard enough, I do get the potential of having. However, when I went into Croke Park on my first day, bearing in mind I spent a couple of years trying to get there, went into Croke Park on my first day, there was 60-odd thousand people that were in Croke Park. First game, obviously very nervous, people watching on the TV and so on and so on. And the very first play, the very first ball, the very first game that I went and engaged with, I slipped and that guy from Kildare, as it was at the time, went and scored a goal against our team. So think about all the work that you do to get to an exam or to get to an opportunity that you want to get to. And then when you arrive there, something happens. The very first play, something happens, okay? And you get pulled back a little bit in terms of where you thought you might have been. And then you have to go back again and try again and go back again and try again. And it's that cycle of learning from whatever you're engaged with to make it a little bit better the next time when you go back to it. Okay, so things are going to happen. Whether you know they're going to happen or whether they come up as a surprise, things will happen. And it's what you've done in terms of your preparation that will allow you to navigate that particular problem that you may have. I just want to mention 2 more things because I do want to introduce some of my colleagues and they'll give you another insight into their experience. So what it looks like for me is, in my sporting interests, again, it's whatever your interest may be, what it looks like for me on the left-hand side is I want to get into a stadium and I want the team that I'm on to be successful. So that's what the big picture looks like. That's what a couple of months potentially looks like for me. But in order to do that, I need to navigate my way through the days in terms of setting up what I need to set up in terms of going to the pool, nutrition, training, and so on and so on. So do you know what the big picture looks like? Where do you want to get to? Do you know that yet? And if you don't, that's fine too. But are you going to potentially invest a little bit of time to think what the end game looks like? And then are you going to drive back to where you are right now and put one step in front of the other and one step in front of the other and keep getting your way slowly but surely towards that particular goal? One without the other doesn't work. So if you don't know where you're going, what you're doing today doesn't necessarily drive you towards that. And if you're doing loads of great stuff but you don't know necessarily where you want to get to, then I guess it's a little bit open-ended in terms of where you may be. As I mentioned, I do, a big if, I work hard and stay disciplined and apply myself and have the right attitude and so on. If I apply myself, I have the opportunity to get into that stadium. So that's a choice that I need to make. However, for many years, I would have went, and my interest is obviously sports, but yours may be something different. So think of it in your context. But for many years, I went to Dublin games with my mum and my family and I watched them for years, so I had a lot of different role models for years. And then somebody asked me would I do a particular job, and that particular job was working essentially behind the goals, and it's called a ball boy, and you go and collect the balls and you deliver them back to the keeper and whatever that game happened to be. And in front of me in that game and many more games thereafter was a guy called Stephen Cluxton. And Stephen, I went to school not too far away from here. Stephen ended up being my biology teacher, so we went to be a teacher in my school. So we went from being a role model, somebody looked into, wanted to be like, got to know him inside the classroom, got to then play with him the last couple of years. And then if, again, I work hard enough and I'm lucky enough, have the opportunity, like last year, to captain the team and be out there in front. So it's very, very real and very, very possible for you to go from where you are sitting now into whatever you want to do, slowly but surely putting one foot in front of the other and achieving what you want to achieve, whether that's a dream or a hope or an ambition. I mentioned that I start, and I'm going to close and pull in Fiona as well. I mentioned that I start with being unrivaled, being out there on your own, doing whatever it is you want to do. However, over the last couple of years, the biggest thing that I've learned, because I tried to be so many different people, I tried to pull in so many other attributes that I just didn't have, the biggest thing that I've learned is that to be yourself is the best possible version of yourself is a really good way to try and be that unrivaled self.